the Chief Revenue Officer at ARC. ARC is a bank purpose-built for early-stage venture-backed startups. We help companies, all the way from pre-seed to Series C, get a better option to manage their idle cash. And typically, the companies who use us do so because the traditional offline bank options and the fintech options that are available to them just don't make the cut. They're not sufficient. Unlike, your average, call it tier 2 or tier 3 venture-backed startup, most top tier companies have some pretty strict requirements imposed by their board around how they can bank, who they can bank with, and ultimately making sure the money is safe. And what we have tried to do is blend the kind of elegant UI and UX of a fintech product, say Mercury and Brex, with the confidence that the balance sheet of a JP Morgan Chase inspires. And we've kind of wrapped that fintech banking product onto larger bank partners and what is typically available, all while offering kind of the service that people have come to love from an SVB or an FRB historically, and really being white glove and high touch in the way that we support our customers and the kind of products that we offer them. So a lot to unpack in there, but ultimately, we're the better bank option for top tier venture backed startups, and our customers are usually pre-seed all the way through Series C. That means that our customers very much live and breathe technology and engage with us in very digital first kind of ways. That's true, of course, of how they use our product, but it's also true of how we get in front of customers in the first place. The entire go-to-market motion here at ARC, and the role that I have in that process, is making sure that we're getting in front of the very best of those customers, and that we're trying to figure out how to get in front of them at the right point in their life cycle. And then that we become really, really good at staying top of mind, because the reality is founders are busy and there's a lot of people chasing the same eyeballs, and having the right tools for us to be able to identify who's engaging and then very seamlessly and easily stay top of mind has been a very important priority for us, and very linchpin to our kind of success as a business. ARC is Series A and growing quickly. We are currently 54 employees at last count, backed by investors like Left Lane, like NFX, like NEA. We came out of Y Combinator winter 22. And so over the past 2 years or so, we've been building frantically with some pretty cool investors on board, and some good growth.
What's the little go-to-market motion these days?
For sure. So I'm the flavor of CRO that is basically rolling marketing and sales into one function, right? So I play the VP of sales and the CMO all in one seat. Our sales team today is slightly different than your average kind of go-to-market at a SaaS organization, but a lot of parallels. We don't technically have account executives. We have what we call relationship managers. You can think of them as end-to-end account owners. So they are the first touch that a customer typically gets when they're in the sales process. And then they manage that account post-acquisition through its life. That means, right, that they're a blend of closing and then expanding, retaining our customers. We have 5 of those relationship managers today that are organized geographically. They manage different territories across the country, east, west, north, south type thing. And again, full funnel means that they're taking the demo and then they're saving the customer if the customer is at risk of churning, and they're upselling them on additional products along the way. Their main mission in life is to grow their region and grow that book of business. They work very closely on the front end with an SDR team, 2 growing to 3. Those SDRs are engaging, in a variety of different strategies, like pulling cold lists, following up on warm inbound leads, handling referrals and chasing them down, taking partner lists that we sign partnership agreements with, and then ultimately, crafting kind of messaging out to those companies, even in parallel to these partnership announcements. And so again, those SDRs are kind of the engine that drives the prospecting funnel for our relationship managers. And those relationship managers on the other end also work with what we call a client services team. Client services is, high touch customer support. And so they pair kind of one-to-one with our RMs, and are there as like frontline defense when a customer has an issue. Where's my money? How do I do this? This isn't working, etc. It typically funnels through client services. I mentioned that, our SDRs are really the engine. The reality is we also have a marketing team to help feed that engine. Really lean and mighty here at ARC. We're a marketing team of one. And so Austin Beveridge really runs the show. That's everything from driving social to PR to everything web asset related, and running our website and our various kind of search and related efforts that kind of govern that. It's also, though, a lot on the event front. So we've been known, kind of given our ICP, to be active kind of in the fields. That might mean we organize dinners alongside a conference. We try to get speaking spots for our CEO at various kind of industry conferences. We partner with other companies to host cool events for founders about things that they might be interested in or find relevant. But generally, events has been an increasing and growing channel for us. Captured within all of that on my team is also our partnerships function, which again pairs very closely with marketing and sales to kind of oil the funnel even further and get warm conversations going with partners that we can, whose customers we can sell to. Whether we're selling directly to them, whether it's an inbound type partnership, it varies. But kind of when you put sales with marketing and partnerships, it drives a complete funnel that we then kind of feed our sales team.
Got it. How about the outbound strategy for your sales?
Yeah. So our outbound strategy varies, but the core of it, because our core ICP is a venture-backed, kind of growth or early stage company, our SDRs are using tools that allow them to find those companies in the first place. Primarily, that means using things like PitchBook and Crunchbase, and then before that, ZoomInfo. So it's, really starting there. We try to be really thoughtful in our personalization, but blend that nicely with scalability. And so it's not like every email we send is personalized, but we try to segment the lists that we pull so that they're small enough and that the copy against those lists is personalized enough to really land and resonate and perform well. That often means things like, we do campaigns by venture fund vintage, or we target partners who have led specific rounds of various companies that we're targeting. So we try to find that common thread. And ultimately from there, once we've built those lists, our SDRs and our RMs, time permitting, are usually engaging primarily via email, but not only. From those emails, we're asking for time, but we're also sending people resources so that they land on our website. They're consuming content that we've put out. But we also have, our team engage over social, and LinkedIn and Twitter are increasingly big places where through DM and through just social selling, we're also able to get in front of those same folks.
Awesome. Cool. We can jump into the challenge or the problem that you guys faced. The biggest one.
Yeah. So look, I think the part of the problem that we had was, it starts from the premise that, it's hard. Well, let me take a step back. I think the simple problem we had is attribution and trying to get enough conviction on the fact that the various marketing strategies we're pursuing are influencing and ultimately helpful to us acquiring customers. When you're an early stage startup and your tech stack isn't mature enough, you don't have very good visibility into what happens in the middle of your funnel. So you might be able to track people filling out lead forms, and you ultimately can track customers, becoming customers. But going from web traffic to easily engaging with that traffic and convert it down funnel is hard. Sales and marketing are ultimately a lot stronger when they work together, but when you don't have the visibility into the things one step up from lead forms that marketing is driving, it can be really hard to have that handoff be clean. And so what we wanted to be able to do, just very simply speaking, is we have people landing on our website. How do we, in near real time, have our sales team prioritize those people when they're the right fit for a product, rather than, doing that on a periodic basis? Let's pull a clear bit list every week and then send them emails. Not as effective as, hey, let's target the people on our website right now. And how do we do this in a way that is natively kind of integrated into the workflow of our sales reps, since ultimately they're the ones that are going to be doing this work. Most of the options on the market were either latent, like again, a Clearbit enrichment kind of flow that worked for us every couple of days, or they were really marketing focused and not conducive to our SDRs actually like doing the follow-up. It needed to work inside of Salesforce clearly. It needed to drop into our outreach sequences clearly. It needed to live in Slack where our SDRs already live. And I just think, at the time that we approached Warmly, we wanted to get better on following up on web traffic, but it wasn't easy for SDRs to do that, and it wasn't happening frequently enough. That's the problem we're trying to solve.
Can you talk about what web traffic looks like approximately?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing about 2,000 to 3,000 unique users visiting the site per week.
Okay.
Most of that is new traffic, call it 3/4 plus typically. So it's a lot of web traffic. It's also a lot of web traffic to a lot of different pages. And, we kind of think about pages in two very broad categories: people who are interested in our product versus people who are interested in things that are tangential to our product, specifically content that, our ICP might care to consume. And being able to understand not just who's visiting our website, but what they're seeing on our website, so that we can kind of condition how we speak to them is also a really important piece for us.
Awesome. I forgot to go over this one, but what's the tech stack you guys use?
Yeah, so Salesforce connected to Outreach for email sends primarily. On the data enrichment front, historically we've used PitchBook and ZoomInfo. Again, our team kind of for internal deal flow stuff is in Slack, and that's where a lot of the action happens. That's how we use Warmly quite a bit, frankly. And then, I don't remember offhand what our CMS is, but our marketing team has built on some CMS, a bunch of work done there as well.
Sounds good. Okay, so you had the problem converting website traffic. How about the evaluation phase? How did you guys think about solving that problem?
We looked at a couple different vendors. We had been using Clearbit in kind of an ad hoc way, and so I would say the first real option for us was, can we take that vendor and find a way to solve the latency issue and like invest a little bit into making the workflow make sense for our SDRs. It proved to be costly both on the software front, like Clearbit is just not a cheap tool when you're using it in that way. And it also wasn't necessarily, it was going to require dev effort and lift internally to get it to a place where SDRs could do anything meaningful with it. It also didn't do a great job identifying persons, and it also didn't do a great job marrying to the email data that we had to inform who a web visitor might be, and ultimately like use that email traffic and that email information to market to the user. So said differently, I send you an email, you go to our website, we know who you are because I know who that visitor is from the link in the email. I know what pages you've now seen. We couldn't with Clearbit easily tie the email piece to the web visitor piece. And so that was part of why we were happy with that. I think the first thing we did after kind of exhausting that option was ask our investors, what are some good options in the market to, kind of explore, like to address this particular problem. And that's when NFX made the connection and, not only gave a very strong endorsement and a strong recommendation, but we started kind of double clicking and looking into what Warmly could do. And Warmly entered the race.
Awesome. And let's talk about the actual solution itself. How did the implementation go down? What does it look like today? What was the day 0 to day 30 process look like?
Yeah. So the challenge with a lot of these tools, right, especially for a company like ours, we want the value. We don't want to put in the time. We want it to work. We want to kind of take it out of the box and it's doing what it's supposed to right away. I think I've learned to expect that not to be the way that software typically works. And I was pleasantly surprised that with Warmly, actually that implementation was a lot easier than I frankly expected. There was, of course, some nuance, right? And some things we had to work through. For example, we had to wrap our email links and make sure our sales reps, kind of adopted all of that stuff cleanly so we could track traffic from email to website properly. We had to add some stuff to our CMS, but again, all of that we did in a matter of, call it like 24 hours, if not 48. And we were off to the races. We did a little bit of sales team training. We had notifications drop into Slack. We started with one rep, and then we kind of expanded to training the rest of our reps. And then we kind of crawl, walk, run. So the first step was, let's get notifications of web traffic, who they are, and what they're seeing, and then have reps kind of action that one off. And then we added additional kind of stuff to it. Automatically enable chat to those users. That was kind of the second step that we added within like 2 weeks of the first launch. And then eventually add users visiting our website automatically to various email sequences and create those records back in our CRM. The third phase of all of this, which we got to within, I think, a month or so of ultimately using Warmly. So we had a very discrete kind of small initial use case. We nailed that and then pretty quickly expanded given how easy it was to do that.
How much
time really well today for us, by the way.
Amazing. How much time do you think it took roughly? It's very rough for each stage. Slack, chat, automated
I think
email.
if I take the web work plus the email work plus the call it Slack workflow work for phase one, honestly, like 3-4 hours, maybe, pretty light. And honestly, probably the biggest part of that was herding cattle internally to get people to make sure that all their email templates were addressed. Mainly, like the rest was pretty easy. There wasn't as much dependency cross-functionally. Step two, was even faster, right? Like adding chat. We had to figure out a few prompts. We had to figure out like which video we wanted to show and record it, maybe an hour or two. There was a little more complexity in the third phase, integrating back to CRM. We have a very specific way of consuming data. We have different definitions of what a lead in an account is. So we had to do a little bit of customization there, a couple hours. But ultimately, once we nailed that, the email sequence piece and the data flow to CRM worked really smoothly. And, again, no more than 3 or 4 hours.
Awesome. And then once everything, I guess for each of the stages, what was the value that you guys received?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think the first value was just awareness and visibility, right? We didn't know before who was kind of counted in that 2,000 plus customers that come to our website every week, or prospect rather. And so just first off, getting awareness of the composition and the makeup of that traffic was really helpful. And it allowed us pretty quickly to, arguably schedule time with companies that either we would have let slip or would have taken longer for us to convert because we wouldn't have been able to convert kind of off of a web visit, but would have had to do it kind of asynchronously. So hard to say how many customers we got out of that, but definitely a few, even just from now we know who's on our website and we can intercept them. We were able to boost that further when we added kind of the chat widget. For us, right, we have a complex product. There's a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot of regulation around what we can say and can't say. And so we decided not to open the gates too wide on what we say and how we kind of automatically target messaging to folks. But we had people engage. And I remember at least 2 distinct examples where we handled questions through warm inbound chat that led to customers converting. And then I think finally, automatically taking web visitors and adding them to sequences, that's proven the most valuable part because ultimately it's automating what was otherwise still dependent on a human to go in and do. It took us a little while to get comfortable and make sure that, the accuracy of the records, the quality of the copy that would kind of be associated with the emails, all that stuff. We wanted to make sure it was really tight. We did it manually, but eventually we realized, man, there's a lot of rinse and repeat involved here. Automating this away then freed up our sales team to be able to do what they do best. And that is get personalized in their outreach rather than, handle automatic kind of mass emailing that can happen in the background. So the real value there beyond helping us win more customers more quickly is just freeing up our sales reps time to do higher value, higher leverage stuff.
Amazing. And so what do you think the results are? If you were to quantify it, and this part, by the way, you can take it, I'm going to cut this stuff up, just like you can brainstorm, think it loud, but it'd be great to see.
I think that the reality is, it pays the bills on what we're paying for Warmly, no question, because a customer of ours, is worth a few $1,000 on an ARPU basis.
Yep.
And if we win a few of those customers, which we definitely have, we're kind of break even plus. In my view, right, it's hard to quantify exactly,
Right.
but I would probably attribute credit to Warmly bringing in at least an extra 1 to 3 customers a month at this point since we've implemented it.
Okay.
Those customers are going to vary. The
Yeah.
part that's hard is, like any good multi-touch attribution, it's not like Warmly's doing everything. It's not like our campaigns are doing everything or our sales reps are doing everything. It's the combination of touch points that ladders
Right.
up to better conversion through the funnel. And so the other way to quantify that is I think probably Warmly has helped improve our funnel conversion rate by some percentage. Again, if I had to put a number out there, 10 to 15% probably is
Okay.
pretty reasonable through the funnel. We probably broke even in the first 3 months. I have no doubt about that.
Okay.
It takes a little while to snowball into results, obviously, but
Sure.
I feel confident in saying that at the 90-day mark, we paid the bills. I think if I were to take the 12-month LTV of the customers we expect and like the price that we spend on this and the cost that goes into implementing it up front,
Yeah.
I mean, it's very much ROI positive, kind of customers we would not have won and have won through Warmly, plus improved funnel conversion rate thanks to
Right.
Warmly. We're at a 3 to 5x ROI comfortably, I would assume. That we appreciate, we try to do too, is just like a lot of product velocity. You guys have been shipping new things quickly that we've been able to implement quickly. That's been awesome.
Maybe like the top 3 things that people should use Warmly for.
Accelerating your sales cycle is probably the single biggest one for us. By knowing who's potentially interested and funneling them to communications faster, you accelerate your sales cycle. That's one. Number 2, getting better at personalizing your messaging and in turn improving your conversion rate. Because you know what people are looking at and engaging with and in what order, you can come up with much better messaging to engage them. And then being able to deflect and save, being able to improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of our SDR team in particular by deflecting things that can be automated away from their day-to-day plate. We've saved a lot of money and time on our SDR function. So yeah, I would say those are the 3 things. Timing is everything, and it's back to like number 1 is accelerate our cycle because we're not losing their interest. We're capitalizing on their interest when they're engaging with our content and our product makes things go faster.